Boy, what a weekend. You don't know what to say. We're going to talk to Tanya Powers coming up in a few minutes. In regards to just that, of course, we found out who the bomber was. We discovered that. They made an arrest. And then the horrible shooting that happened in Pittsburgh. So we'll have a lot to get into this morning. Tanya Powers coming up in a few minutes. We'll talk to John Zogby, the latest political climate in the country and the midterms. And we are now a week away. You were talking about Chris Collins being...
Yeah, it stunned me that race is that close.
Well, a very Republican district. He would have won by a landslide, and now there's, 13-14% undecided.
Yeah.
Which means that those were people probably were going to vote for him and are struggling with it right now.
Yeah. What was his charge? It was like corruption, right?
Most likely it'll be,
insider trading.
They'll try to keep the seat, and then Republicans. But what a mess. Rabbi Diddy Wachs is on this morning. He is actually the rabbi for several students in the Hamilton College area. And he'll be on to talk about Pittsburgh. Also, some other local Jewish leaders we'll have on this morning after 7:30 as well to discuss what happened there and how you move forward. This was a man that completely hated Jews. It was heard saying he wanted all the Jews to die. It's really...
Even as he was being arrested and because he himself was injured, I believe, by police in some sort of shootout. And he, even during that time was still just screaming that he hated Jews and all Jews must die. It's terrible. It's just awful. And for any no matter what your religious belief is, you should be able in this country to go in and safely practice it, no matter what it is. It's just sad.
One would think, scary. Right? One would think. But we'll get into it more coming up, as we said, with Tanya Powers. Also, it's kind of hard to compare with that story. Over the weekend, a lot happening. Syracuse is ranked in the top 25 for the first time since 2001.
22nd, too, right? They pulled in at 22?
20, is it 22? It's ranked 22nd?
Is that where they took over for NC State, essentially?
And that is in the USA Today poll. I don't know where they are in the AP poll. Utica College, men having a tough time with Adrian over the weekend, losing both Friday and Saturday. And UC is a team that has been ranked highly in preseason. They were ranked as the team to beat. And second in that list was Adrian, and they had the Pioneers' number this weekend, both Friday and Saturday afternoon. We mentioned that, and your Packers.
Oh man, so much went wrong.
Giants losing. The Giants are now 1-7. Is it 1-7? Holy moly!
Yeah.
The Jets losing yesterday, and the Bills didn't lose.
That's right, they
Good
didn't.
news right there. The Bills did not lose. The Bills play tonight, of course, against the Patriots. McCoy is good to go. It's the first time the Bills have had a Monday Night Football game in a long time. I don't know. Dave, you have any idea how long it's been? It's been a very long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah. Anyway, that game tonight. And by the way, on the Syracuse game, they come in as favorites this weekend. Number 22 Syracuse will take on Wake Forest, and they are a 4.5-point betting favorite going into this weekend. How about that?
Nice.
Something we haven't seen in a while, in a long time. And we'll get your results, too, from the New York State Marching Band competition, which happened at the Dome over the weekend. Some local schools performing really well, and we'll get to that coming up. Is that, Tanya? It is a horrific story, as we were talking about, in Pittsburgh. And Tanya J. Powers standing by right now to talk about it. This is really one of the worst mass shootings inside a house of worship. Certainly not the worst, but one of the worst we've seen in history. Good morning, Tanya Powers.
Good morning. Yeah, this is shocking. It truly is.
Yeah. So what do we know about the guy, the shooter? He was someone who he's somebody who felt the president wasn't going far enough.
Yeah, he thought he had surrounded himself with too many Jewish people.
Yeah.
That is, one of the things that we're learning about this guy. He thought that he blamed the Jews for helping the migrant caravans in Central America. He had anti-Semitic slurs. This was just on his social media stuff. He used Gab a lot, and that's apparently where he spewed some of his hate. And
so Gab is when a lot of these alt-right, white nationalists, people, when they were kicked off Twitter and Facebook, Gab is another social media platform, right?
Right.
Which opened its doors to it didn't censor, and a lot of people, white supremacists, have found a home on this social media platform. Yeah,
it bills itself as the free speech social network.
Well, and unfortunately, that is free in the United States, unless a private business wants to shut people down. Their hate is unfortunately part of free speech in this country.
Well, right before he went inside the building, apparently, he had posted about Trump earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And then just a few minutes before he went into the building and started shooting, he got on the network again, and he said, "I can't sit by and watch my people get slaughtered. I'm going in." That is one of the things that's being attributed to him. We do know that he is due in court today. About 1:30 this afternoon, I believe, is when his court hearing is. He's already facing 29 federal charges. Some of those are, death penalty kind of cases.
Yeah.
He's also got about, I think, 11 state charges against him as well. That's including attempted homicide and aggravated assault. It's a laundry list of stuff he's been charged with already.
Do we know on his social media who was slaughtering his people? He's saying the Jews were allowing it. Part of that is allowing immigrants to come in and Muslims to come in. Does he explain why he had to commit the mass murder that he committed?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure if he went into detail on that. I mean, he goes into he makes no bones about how he feels about them. But I don't know if he went into that kind of detail. That's something I'm not sure of.
All right, just a terrible, terrible story. Tanya J. Powers, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. Just an awful story. And as we said, later on this morning, we'll have members of the Jewish community in to discuss. And one of them is someone that you'll know, and that's Cal Sokoloff, who was a professor at Herkimer College when I went there as well for radio and television. But they'll be in to discuss, really just talk about what happened and try to get a little bit of insight. And you got to be thinking that synagogues around the country at this point are on high alert. I know certainly in New York City, their police were on a high alert based on the fear of copycats. Just terrible. Really, really bad. Coming up, I have, do you know there's a new music video channel out there? There is. And it is
MTV-esque? Where they actually play music videos?
They actually play
bringing it back.
Music videos. These are political music videos. And what we didn't know, remember Peggy, who came into the studio with the Jim Zecca Trump crew? Peggy, who we got into it a little bit. She was against, if you remember, the Hindu temple that was being built in North Utica. We don't want them in our neighborhood was kind of how that conversation went. What we didn't know is that she is a singer, an artist, and along with her sister, an amazing performer and very political.
Oh, I think I did know this.
We'll play some of those videos for you coming up. My favorite is the Native American salute to Claudia Tenney. We'll get to it coming up at 6.
You're kidding.
It's and as I said, it's not just a song; it's a music video. So we'll get into it coming up. I'm really excited about it. They call themselves Ruby and Lace. They explain it a little bit. This is Peg. If you recall, a while back, she came in with the. It's a big Trump supporter, a big and definitely a big Claudia Tenney supporter, and she's out producing videos that are song parodies, not just song parodies, but music videos. It's really something amazing. Here they are explaining what they're doing.
Casual, and we are. That's why she just sat on a pillow to make herself look. Now, you know. She's a little bit shorter than me, and I'm not that tall. But I just wanted to say hello. You know, my name is Peg Roberts.
That's her.
Yes, indeed it is. And this is my sister, Fran Henry.
That's me.
And we're also known as Ruby and Lace.
And together, that's us.
Together, that's us, Ruby and Lace. Would you like to hear one of the songs?
Well, yeah.
Well, you can't hear it without seeing it, and I strongly urge everyone to go and see this music video, not just listen to it. You can't get the full effect if you don't see it. And I almost feel like I got to hold it up to the TV, up to the camera. So that,
well, where would you see it? Just on your
YouTube,
laptop?
On YouTube.
Okay.
It's on YouTube. If you were to search Pat Roberts, Ruby and Lace. I just searched Native American Tribute Tenny, and mine popped up. Let's listen to it a little bit. Meanwhile, if I were Claudia, I'd be like, okay, you guys, that's awesome. Now take it down. Please.
Can you imagine have been the neighbor, like doing the yard work, and like that's going on next door?
Well, they're dressed in, it looks like they're in a backyard, and there's 5 of them, and they're dressed in Indian headgear, Native American headgear. They're, and this, I guess, would be kind of a slap at Ray Halberter, maybe, because she's, I guess they're trying to say that she's pro-Native American, not pro, I don't know what they're trying to say. Except for the chorus, Claudia.
That's very clear.
Yeah,
crystal
that's
clear.
Clear what they wanted there.
Does 5 constitute a tribe? Like you need a quorum on the council, right?
I think they might. Yeah, you might. Wow. Let's see, what else do we have? There's a couple of Anthony Brindisi ones. One of the Anthony Brindisi ones, let's see, Brindizio's Got Strings. So they go from their Indian garb to their Italian accent. Listen in here.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait.
Brindizio's Got Strings. They'll tell him what to say, and then they're going to tell him what to do. And on this election day, like a hen, I hear you make a fool of you. I have the perfect name for you.
By the way, they're using an old Pinocchio cartoon, and they're dubbing over.
Can I just say, we can't even put a clip of a song in YouTube, and we're going to get hammered by corporate YouTube. But they're using Disney clips.
Well, that's because they have
parodies.
100 views. Although there are 175 views on this one.
Brindizio, what do you think, Figaro? You like him?
No, says the cat.
Okay.
How about you, Cleo?
No, says the fish.
Brindizio, Pinocchio, I get it now.
Strings now. You'll do just what they ask you to do, right? Good boy.
And then it follows with a song. That was the intro to the song.
For copyright purposes, can they use that? I mean, here's where I'm going with this. I asked my question out of order. If any politician could work that into a campaign commercial against their opponent, that's a good song to use.
I would say, yeah, I guess, right? But,
at the same time, but can they do that with copyright? Probably not.
There is the ability to parody things, but the way that YouTube does it, as long as you don't monetize it, they let you go. And
yeah,
but that song might even be out of, I don't know, with Disney. Disney probably owns it. Either way, here's their version of "Walk Away," Democrats. Walk away. Oh, Lordy. It's all there on YouTube. Brindizio, he's got strings.
Oh, bibbidi-bobbidi.
We'll break and come back here. I'll play some other audio. Again, next hour, we'll be speaking with Rabbi Diddy Wax, who is a rabbi over in the Hamilton district and not connected to Hamilton College, but to students over there. Also, some other local Jewish leaders will be in this morning. We're really going to talk about what happened in Pittsburgh. Obviously, you've heard about it. It was horrific. And as Andrew said earlier, you would think that the one place that you'd be safe in this country, that would be in your house of worship, right? Apparently not. The synagogue in Pittsburgh on Saturday, 11 people dead. Almost all the victims were over 60, including a 97-year-old and an 88-year-old. And a husband and wife who are 86 and 84. Here are some of the victims' friends talking about them after the tragedy. I don't know why this always keeps shutting off, but it's just terrible to listen to. Here's police scanner audio of the synagogue shooting on over the weekend on Saturday.
Negotiations ongoing, communications efforts to get him to come out, telling him we're not coming in. All right, he's given orders to crawl out. He's not done so yet. All right, be advised, we have a suspect giving us hands and view. We're negotiating to surrender at this time. All units, hold what you got.
And the president was very strong in his comments in regards to the anti-Semitism and how horrible it was. Unfortunately, the more he is given the opportunity to talk, the more he says things that kind of muddy the waters just a little bit, like this comment talking about if only they had guards in the synagogue.
If they had protection inside, the results would have been far better. This is a dispute that will always exist, I suspect, but if they had some kind of a protection inside the temple, maybe it could have been a very much different situation.
Not sure you need to go there right now. The mayor of Pittsburgh, of course, this is going to become extremely political. If you think that the political climate was bad prior to this, oh, Lord, this next week and a half is just going to be... And I also noticed a lot of commercials pulled back the negative spots. Did you see any of that? Did you notice yesterday you were seeing a lot of love? You were seeing more positive. Like the Anthony Brindisi with his family spot came back out yesterday. Now, maybe that was by design, or maybe that was, boy, between the bomber and the shooter, let's pull back on the rhetoric a little bit.
That's interesting. I didn't notice that. All I really watched all day was football.
Here's the mayor, Bill Peduto of Pittsburgh.
We shouldn't be trying to find ways to minimize the dangers that occur from irrational behavior. We should be working to eliminate irrational behavior in the empowerment of people who would seek to cause this type of carnage from continuing. I think the approach that we need to be looking at is how we take the guns, which is the common denominator of every mass shooting in America, out of the hands of those that are looking to express hatred through murder.
And how do you pull that off? That's the difficult challenge. But ultimately, in both of these cases, the bomber and the shooter both were Trump supporters. But these are crazy people. I think we can't lose the fact that if someone's able to send bombs all over the country to their political foes, or someone's willing to go in and shoot up innocent people, and whether they're Jewish or any faith, you're talking about crazy people, right? This is a mental illness. There's something wrong with these people. Yeah. It's not necessarily that, yes, they jumped onto political views, but they're crazy people. And I don't know how you keep the guns out of the hands of crazy people that are willing to do something like this. I don't know how you do it. But again, I think you put up a statement yesterday, and you said it immediately became political.
Yeah, and I said, please, there will be plenty other people to do that throughout the week, because I just really want these 11 people to be remembered and thought about just for a little bit.
I have a Sunday morning thing that I do every Sunday morning that my wife hates. It's all the Sunday morning programs.
Yeah.
I'm glued to those. I flip back and forth. I watch them all, and I couldn't watch any of them this weekend. I just couldn't watch it. I didn't see any of it. So I cleaned my garage.
Well, you know what? Your reasoning for not wanting to watch them was good, because probably what you didn't want to see was what was going on.
Well, I didn't even want to see the misery of all of it. It was just such a terrible story. And between that and the bombing thing, I just, you knew where it's going to go. I just didn't want to watch any of it. I couldn't watch any of it. Let's see. Tonight, we mentioned the Buffalo Bills will be playing the New England Patriots. Is this going to be a big blowout? Or is it going to be my optimism? I'm telling you, this is a tough game. This is a trap game for the New England Patriots.
I hope you're right. I really do.
I hope
want to
I'm
watch
right,
a
too.
Decent game tonight, but I don't know.
All indicators are it's going to be a horrible night for me, and I'm going to bed early.
Well, the Bills may have the advantage that they've had in the past. So you look at it like now, this is a primetime game, and New England's had plenty of time to prepare, and they're not like other teams. They do generally prepare for each team, but sometimes so looking ahead to next week, they've got Green Bay. Maybe they overlooked the Bills or under-prepped for the Bills a little bit.
It's usually less likely with a division rival, but it's possible. The only thing I was going to say is giving Derek Anderson another week to know the offense, because, I mean, he was fresh off the street when they threw him in last week. So
I'd feel much better if we had Josh Allen in there, just because I think this kid has the ability to pull off things that he shouldn't be pulling off as of right now, but it's still going to be another couple of weeks before we see him. But at least McCoy is back. Bill in Herkimer on the Pittsburgh shootings. Bill, you're on. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. How are you today?
Good.
Disaster. That's all I could say.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I just want to bring this up. I used to live in East Utica. I went to UFA, and I had a lot of Jewish friends.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was back in the 70s where they did all that stuff to their synagogue there on Oneida Street, where they spray painted it and broke windows and all that stuff.
I was a little too young for that, but that's terrible.
Well, I went to school with a lot of Jewish people. It was like maybe a quarter to a half Jewish people at UFA, and I'll tell you what, these were fantastic people. I mean, it's just a disaster. Somebody even going into any church and doing what he did.
It's terrible.
Just to do it to a Jewish community, it's just a terrible thing.
Well, we appreciate that, Bill. And next hour we'll have some community members from the Jewish community making their way in studio, and we'll chat. I think the message they're going to send, though, is a message of just we have to kind of face this hate that's out there. Whether it's hate towards Muslims or Christians or Jews, whatever.
You have to go to church and worry about being shot.
You're right.
That's crazy, I'm telling you,
All right, Bill. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
You too. Thanks,
Bill.
Okay, bye.
We'll get into all that. John Zogby will start it off. Where does this go? What does this do for the midterms? We can talk about that a little bit. And the midterms are one week away from tomorrow. We'll get to it. Coming up, downtown hospital election sheet in the mail.
I see. No, I didn't get
there
one.
There are two of them, by the way. The backside is for Utica. The other backside is for Rome. One was in the Sentinel. One was in the OD. And I just briefly tell you that they give you an election guide sheet on who you should vote for. And of course, Claudia Tenney. They're suggesting instead of Anthony Brindisi, if you must be a Democrat and you must vote Democrat. Then write in Heath Phillips in Portland.
Heath Phillips?
Yeah.
Did he originally, was he running as a Democrat or a Republican?
I don't know who he is.
As a Democrat.
In the assembly seat with the 119th, they suggest Dennis Bova, not hospital scandal, Marianne Buttonshawn. I'm not sure what Marianne Buttonshawn has had to do with the hospital, to be honest with you. But they're saying that she's all part of it. They're saying there's a
scandal there?
Oh, it's a scandal, hospital scandal. And over Griffo's face, there's hospital scandal as well. Griffo is running unopposed, so they suggest that you write in Daffy Duck when you vote next Tuesday. So
well, it'll be interesting to see how many Daffy Ducks come up on the thing there.
712, John Zogby standing by right now. The intensity, it seemed like it backed off a little bit this weekend. I thought I saw some positive congressional commercials, but I think we're back to the negative here, despite what happened over the weekend. John, good morning.
Hey, good morning. First of all, let me express my horror and sympathy on behalf of the Jewish community in Pittsburgh and everybody in Pittsburgh, for that matter. It's just a terrible thing.
Really terrible. So this, I think you have to be, if you're Democrats, you have to be very careful on how you proceed here, and the same with Republicans, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be very careful right now anyway.
Yeah.
Your lead-in question, everything is just very, very tight. And where we stand at this moment is the Democrats do have a shot at taking over the House, but it's not a slam dunk. And, in fact, I'm not ready to bet on it just yet. I give it 50-50.
Yeah.
When I look at the overall mood of the country, but then I look at individual races, I'm seeing a lot of 1- and 2-point races that, can't possibly be called at this point in time, including the races around us throughout upstate New York.
The 22nd, of course, Claudia Tenney, Anthony Brindisi. The Siena poll that came out shows that is basically a dead heat. They have Brindisi up slightly, but it's a 4.5-point plus or minus.
Yeah, 1-point lead. Generally, that's been the trend of the polls in this district, with the one exception of a poll that was done by the polling company that had Tenney leading by 8. But I'll note for everybody's information, the polling company is owned and still run by Kellyanne Conway, who is an advisor to Trump. And her polling, I know her, and I like Kellyanne very much. She's a good pollster. However, she seemed to have a Republican bias in all the polling that she's done.
It does seem like they wanted an answer to the AARP poll that had Brindisi up, which also has a bit of an agenda.
The group certainly had a bit of an agenda. I think the leading bit of the agenda was to be the first poll to come out showing Tenney leading in the race. Otherwise, while the lead for Brindisi has obviously dissipated over the last several months, it left a lot of people, including myself, scratching their heads that this is not an 8-point race either way.
Yeah. I want to ask you on the issue, since meanwhile we have the bomber, the guy that was mailing pipe bombs around the country to those critical of the president, and then of course the mass shooting in Pittsburgh. We're already beginning to hear the president over the weekend saying, "Boy, if they only had an armed guard." Yeah. The Pittsburgh mayor coming out and stomping on that quite quickly. Is this going to turn with the election just a week away? Is this going to be turning into a gun control issue? Is it going to be? Are we going to have that same argument, or is everybody going to walk very, very cautiously?
They're going to walk very cautiously. Folks are locked into a large degree. So when I look at the first round of polls that have come out since the bombing incident, we've had a full round, several days of polling, and I see really thus far zero impact. So you're going after undecideds.
Yeah.
This isn't the time to be raising any issue with any real controversy. In fact, if anything, you're going to see ads that are focused on the positives of a candidate. I think any negative ads between now and the end of the election are just simply going to be devised to deter people from voting, not encourage them.
It is interesting. I did see like the Anthony Brindisi commercial with his kids. Mm-hmm. That came back around over the weekend, and I'm wondering if that was by design, if that wasn't planned. But after the tragedy, they made that switch to get away from some of the negative spots.
Well, Bill, the book on the way these should be run, and of course, all shoulds are thrown out the window these days. But the way it's supposed to be run is you lead with very positives and build up a likability and credibility factor for your candidate, and then you spend the bulk of the campaign running negative ads to discourage possible supporters of your opponent from voting, and then you end, back on the positive side. Now that you've made both points, you're reminding people that your guy or gal is a good one.
And interestingly, in that Siena poll, the Brindisi's positives went down, and one might expect that with all the negative spots.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly what happens. This district and the rest of the country has caught up with New Jersey. I learned how these things get done way back when, doing some New Jersey races where they start beating each other up in March. And by Election Day, you're not only happy that it's over with, but you conclude boy, you're right. Both of these candidates are horrible people, and I wish they'd go away.
I got to tell you, you hear people saying that. So who goes away? Is it Republicans and Democrats? Is it Republicans? And how about that undecided? What was the percentage of undecided in the Siena poll?
9%.
9%, which is right about where it was back in August. So what do you think on the undecideds?
You know, it used to be said, you know, when history was somewhat relevant, that undecideds break 2-1 against an incumbent. That's how it used to be. But now we're finding these are people that identify themselves as likely voters who are being polled, finding that a bulk of them end up not voting at all. So it's really anybody's guess. These are races that are way too close. And, you know, with 1 week to go, anything can happen, really.
John, just your reaction to one thing. We did talk about the rise in Brindisi's negative number, and you attribute that to the political spots, and it makes sense. Tenney's negativity was 42-47, unchanged from August. What do you make of that? That her, she was viewed more negatively than positively, but the numbers didn't change.
Yeah, I mean, she's been out there. You know, she's had a few campaigns, and she has a high intensity support. Her base already knows who she is. If they didn't know who she was, then she was certainly enhanced by the Trump visit. But he himself, you know, has a positive-negative ratio that's about the same. It's safe to say she's got 42% bedrock solid support of people who like her. Now, is that enough to win? I don't know. I've seen it done. You know, I've seen it done, but no. The sense is everybody knows her and has already formed an opinion on her.
Here's just one more, and I'll let you go. If you recall, the 2016, it looked like Hillary Clinton was going to win. She was ahead in the polls, but then at the end, things did turn. Right now, it looks like this is going to be very, very close. We might not know who controls the House on Wednesday morning officially. So, but there's still that opportunity where things could take a turn, either right or left, going into the weekend, right?
Absolutely no predictions here. Remember, among that 9%, there are people who don't have their television on, you know, and are listening to CDs in their car. And are purposely, in fact, not paying close attention, and they're likely voters. There are just some folks that are too busy. So there are no predictions here, and I suspect 1 week from today I'll probably be telling you the same thing.
Interesting. Just a quick aside. One person told me about Thursday's debate last Thursday night. This is someone I would consider somewhat political. I'm not going to watch the debate between Tenney and Brindisi because I'm voting for Brindisi, and I don't want the debate to change my mind. Isn't that kind of funny?
That is kind of fun. Well, I don't blame him.
Yeah, it's where we are. All right, good stuff. We appreciate it, John. Thanks so much.
Yeah, anytime. Take care.
John Zogby from Zogby Strategies. Quick break. We'll talk to Rabbi Diddy Wachs, who works with students at Hamilton College in Clinton. He, of course, not affiliated with the college, but works with many of the students out there. And we'll speak with Diddy Wachs coming up next on WIBX. Maybe you saw some of the horrible images over the weekend of what happened in Pittsburgh. A terrible, terrible display of hatred. And Rabbi Diddy Wachs is with the Shabbat of Clinton, works with Hamilton College students, and he's on the line right now. Welcome back here, Rabbi. And what are you feeling here this morning? How horrible, what a tragedy this past weekend.
Yeah, indeed. And it's shaken the entire Jewish community, and students who I speak with, and even students who I don't normally really speak with, who I don't really have much of a connection with, have reached out because it's something that has really touched at the core and close and hit so close to home. And I think that was for many students. It's not like Jews are, unfortunately, we're not completely alien to, attacks of hate. But when it hits so close to home, in such a brutal way by people on people who are just attending a service. This was not a political event. This was not that becomes okay, but this was a very regular thing that Jews do all the time. It was really horrible.
So, boy, is the conversation that we have to have a conversation about hate? Because that's really what this is: hate and mental illness. It seems.
So so I'm not an expert in, nor a spokesman about hate or gun control, or gun violence in general. But what I can say is this: that Jewish teaching in general, the Kabbalah specifically, teaches that darkness is not an entity unto itself, but it's rather an absence of light, and hate is the same as that. Hate is not something, it's a lack of something. It's a lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge, a lack of familiarity. And so when people wonder, how can hate grow so quickly? And just like when you leave, food in the wrong environment for a long time, mold begins to grow. So the leaving things without taking care of them, without dealing with them, is where hate can most easily grow. And just a very simple things, if people want to think what they can do. We've been honored to live in central New York in the Utica area, Clinton, for the last 4 and a bit years. And very often I meet people in the supermarket because I'm wearing a yarmulke and I look clearly different, and there aren't many like us in the area. And it will usually be, a kid who says to his mother, "Oh, why does he look different?" or something like that. Yeah. And you usually get into a positive conversation. But when people do, and this unfortunately happens sometimes too, and I take no offense, but I'm not saying this about myself, I'm saying this about just general how we should treat each other. We should be much more open to wanting to learn and understand each other. You don't need to become experts on Judaism or become experts in each other's cultures, but just to understand that we're all created in God's image, that we're all equal, and that really, if the society gets accustomed to just talking to each other, I think we'll be in a better place overall.
I want to ask you one last question. When you think about this, and just reflect on it a bit, if you could. Most of the people who died, everybody was over 50. I think the youngest was 54 years old. But here you have a 97-year-old, an 88-year-old, a husband and wife who are 86 and 84. These were people who survived. Whether they directly survived the Holocaust, they certainly have families and friends who were direct survivors or people they lost in the Holocaust. And to have to go all of this time and be past such a terrible time in the world's history, to die in such a senseless way is just terrible.
I mean, Jews are now commemorating, it's almost 80 years to the day, almost, since the Kristallnacht, the famous or infamous night of glass that really started the Holocaust in Germany, when the night when Jews were looted all over Germany. 100 Jews were killed, which at that time was considered an enormous amount, and to think retrospectively that was so crazy, and people only knew that it was a precursor. So I think that for Jews, in general, when Jews are targeted for just the sake of being Jewish, and remember that Jews have often been killed. This was done in a house of worship, but very often Jews were killed not even because of their beliefs, because many Jews are not necessarily believers, but Jews have been targeted for the fact of being Jewish, and it's extremely. It's a wake-up call for many Jews, and we encourage, as a rabbi, I encourage the students that I talk with and everybody to not let this be a reason for them to hide in the corner, but really to stand up and be proudly Jewish. And the American Jewish Congress started a campaign this week called Showing Up for showing up to synagogue, I think something like that.
Yeah.
But they're encouraging all Jews who don't normally go to synagogue except Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to show up this week to show solidarity and show that we will not be, frightened into hiding our existence and etc. So I hope that everyone can just show a little bit of love to each other, people who you don't know. Reach out to someone, smile at someone, be less suspicious of someone because they look different, and just try to be more welcoming and embracing. And then hopefully we'll get to a better place. Can we get rid of these completely? There's always, like you said, mental health is an issue, but we can change people's heart, and we won't have people walking into a synagogue saying, I want to kill all Jews or all Jews must die. At least we can get rid of some of that kind of rhetoric.
Boy, one would think we'd already have accomplished that. Rabbi Diddy Wachs, we really appreciate your time as always.
Thank you so much, Bill, for your time as usual and caring about the important issues.
Thanks so much. We'll break. Coming up, we'll speak with Jewish leaders in the area from Temple Emmanuel and also Temple Bethel. They're in studio right after the news, which is next on WIBX. 11 people just mowed down with gunfire. In one of the most sacred places we could think of as Americans, and that is in a house of worship. Just terrible. And they were shot and killed because they were Jewish by someone with a great deal of hate. In studio here this morning is Rabbi Peter Schachman. He's with Temple Emmanuel. He's been a congregational rabbi throughout the country, from Houston to New York City to Honolulu, Hawaii, and now here in this area, Temple Emmanuel, and Cantor Kel Sokoloff of Temple Bethel, who Jeff and I both know as a professor at Herkimer County Community College. Gentlemen, good morning. I'll start with you, Rabbi. Just horrible. How do we move on from here, and what do we learn from all of this?
Well, I think what we learned from this is that there's what's been confirmed is that there's a climate of hate in this country that is allowing people like this to give vent to their feelings in ways that are violent and destructive, and that we all have to come together to make clear that that's not that climate of hate needs to be dealt with, and we need to respond to it and make clear that in our communities this kind of hatred toward any marginalized group will not be tolerated.
It was a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago, in Charlottesville, and you had people marching down the streets. There has been a bit of a rise to this type of behavior. Cantor Kel Sokoloff from Temple Bethel, your take on all of this?
My take on this is simply that, as the rabbi said, there's a climate of hate. There's a climate of divisiveness and a lack of decency, a lack of shame. There are people whose best interests are served by people not getting along with each other. And they promote this, and most people are inundated. Listen to the ads that run on this station over the last few days. It's not in favor of a particular candidate. It's against a candidate. We are being told not to like other people.
Right.
This is exactly the wrong message that people should be sending. But as I said, it serves certain people's interests, and so they do that.
Rabbi, you agree?
Well, I certainly agree that the atmosphere has been negative, and I think that has been. We are not focusing on positive messages, but I also think that part of the problem is that we're not really we're not focusing on a reasonable, respectful debate. As has been said many times before, we've become very, very tribal. And we're not listening to reason. We're not listening to facts. We're supporting things just because that's we're supposed to support it, no matter what. I mean, we have a lot of fans of the team, and they're loyal to their team. But this is not the World Series. This is real life.
Your travels around the country. Do you run into what is it like here? What has your experience been here? And what do you see in other parts? Do you run into this hate in other parts of the country?
Well, it's not confined to any particular part of the country, but different parts of the country deal with it differently, and sometimes it's surprising. I spent the year before I was here. I spent in Alexandria, Louisiana. People in the North often stereotype cities in the South as being particularly noxious, but the truth is that Alexandria, while it has a history of being in the South, it's certainly a red state, Louisiana. There was also also a great deal of respect and diversity for various populations cultivated, which you don't see which I don't see here in some ways. In the South, people, rightly or wrongly, fly the Confederate flag for a variety of reasons.
Right.
Here, when I drove through the Adirondacks last year and saw Confederate flags in New York State, they only mean one thing.
You're right. Yeah.
And that's very terrifying.
Yeah, you're not hanging on to an element of your past,
That's
your history,
right.
your ancestors.
That's right.
This is it represents something.
Absolutely.
Which not always good. You want to continue with that?
I tend to agree. I know when I have seen people proudly flying the Confederate flag from the back of their vehicles. And first thing I want to say is, are you really a traitor to the United States?
Right.
Are you really someone who wants to take apart this union?
Yeah.
No, of course not. It represents something else.
Mm-hmm.
To them, it represents the rebel spirit, being independent. And I guess, as Lewis Carroll said, a thing means exactly what I want it to mean, no more and no less.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we can't agree on what things mean, and this comes back to the divisiveness, if everybody's talking a different language, you end up with the Tower of Babel and nothing gets done.
Yeah, yeah. So how do we proceed? I would assume, can we talk politically a little bit? I would assume both parties need to handle this extremely carefully and not try to take advantage of this horrific tragedy.
If I'm not talking parties. If people proceed with respect for other people, then they will be doing the right thing.
Yeah, yeah.
If people, whether they're acting politically or not, if they're acting with respect for other people rather than their own individual interests, they're much more likely to do the right thing.
Rabbi, I'll ask you, as this person clearly had been preaching this hate for quite some time in this country, it's part of our free speech you can hate and you can say things that are horrific. But when you look at the people that passed away, and I asked this of Rabbi Diddy Wachs earlier, these were people, many in their 80s and 90s, who survived in some way the Holocaust. To go this way is just a terrible thing.
Absolutely true, and it's absolutely tragic. But the truth is, the world, survived the Holocaust, and we apparently have not learned lessons from that experience as we ought to. We are living in a post-Holocaust society, and we still don't understand. We still don't see these kinds of elements as they arise in our society. That's what's so frightening. That we still have people walking this earth with numbers tattooed on their arms, and we have other people who don't seem to understand what it means when rights start being taken away.
Why is it that I have felt like we've moved past this, but we really haven't? Is that what happens? We let our guard down, and this begins to feed even more? Because it just seemed like this isn't a problem that we would have to face. Or do you, as members of a Jewish community, experience this all the time?
This type of thing never goes away.
Yeah.
There are always people who are going to try to express their unhappiness this way. And I really think it comes down to unhappiness. I'm not by any way excusing what happened. Everybody is responsible for their actions. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a certain degree of unhappiness, but there's always going to be a number of people who feel the Jews are responsible for everything.
Right.
Okay? It's terrible when you don't get a day off.
Yeah, it's a very busy life.
I tell you.
Yeah.
The fact is, everybody is looking to try to figure out why they have problems in their lives. It's really convenient when you can find a particular person or a particular group of people and say, that's why I have all of these problems. Mm-hmm. And there are always going to be people who have problems. There are always going to be people who are looking to tag it on somebody rather than man up and take responsibility for what they have done themselves.
Rabbi, you want to continue?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for one thing, we have this. We've not been good in our society about really getting at the sources of hate and the sources of bigotry. We've passed laws, we've passed regulations, we've forbidden certain kinds of expression, but we haven't actually gotten to the source of that expression and dealt with where it's coming from. So we fooled ourselves into thinking that we had overcome racism and overcome anti-Semitism and overcome other things, and but we really haven't. And now we're seeing that's coming to fore. The other thing that's really important is, I think an apt comparison here is to our bodies. Our bodies have pathogens that live in them all the time. And if we're healthy, it's because our immune system is fighting off those pathogens. So but they're still there. Mm-hmm. We're always going to have pathogens in our society. That we're never going to be able to eliminate because we have people. But when a society is strong and can fight off those forces, those pathogens, then we stay healthy. So we can't just focus on the pathogen. We have to focus on the body as a whole and on keeping the body healthy and keeping our social and political immune system working.
Boy, and that's a challenge these days, is it not? Wayne in Utica has a question, comment. Go ahead, Wayne. You're on the radio.
I'm curious in general, why and where and when did all this hate for Jewish people come from, start, and why does it still just keep going on?
Is that a history question? So let's...
In general, I just like to know why is everything... It's just like with the Negroes. Why is everything so centered on just your race? Where did all this hate come from? Why did Hitler hate you guys? Why did all this...
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. And Negroes is not a word we use anymore in that world of being politically correct, I guess. So he's asking a history question. I think that's a good question.
Wow. Unfortunately, this program only goes for a few hours.
Yeah.
So in short, the Jews have had problems with this for centuries.
Well, the world's the problem. Well, the Jews have the problem.
Well, we're on the receiving end, but as the rabbi says, the world has a problem because we are a people that has been in many different places around the world, and there's a history that we would go to a place and we would be welcomed, and then when there were problems, oh look, these people are here, they must be the problem. Go away.
Yeah.
We have been small enough and powerless enough over the years, and ubiquitous enough that we are a convenient target. We are a convenient group against which people can say, "There you go. That's what's wrong with here." And I will say that America has been a real bastion for the Jews, for all peoples, because you could come here and you could be who you decided you wanted to be, and nobody would give you grief over it.
Yeah.
The fact that this sort of thing happens, it's not just a hit against the Jews. When it happens to African Americans, it's not a hit against the African Americans. It's a hit on our core American values.
Rabbi?
Yes, I mean, I think that's all very true, and I agree with that. I think that, what's hard to say, because it's hard to hear, is that in many ways the origins of anti-Semitism, and this is many of them, hark back to early Christianity and to the fact that the Jews were not supposed to be here.
Can I say that I have been in church and have heard, well, it's the Jews that killed Jesus.
So part of that's one part of it is half of it is the Jews killed Jesus, which is a very, very and the idea that the sin until recently that the culpability for that sin is still upon modern Jews. That was changed, of course, with Vatican II, but that's still embedded in people's minds. But also the idea that the survival of the Jewish people was not a part of early Christian theology. So when Jews managed to survive, they were reassigned the role of being God's suffering servant. That's why we were here. So anything that people could do to facilitate that, to make Jews suffer, that was meant to be. But I think what the cantor said is also very, very important. It may be human nature that we look for scapegoats. We just want to find something else to blame.
It's got to be a reason,
right? And Jews have served the role of being that scapegoat throughout history.
Andrew.
In the last couple of days, and in some cases probably hours, you've probably spoken to a lot of your worshipers. What is their feeling right now? What have you talked to them about, and what are the sense that you're getting from a lot of them? How is this affecting them locally in your local communities?
I wish I could say they were shocked. They they're very unhappy. Obviously, they're sad, but they're not shocked because we've seen this sort of thing before. And I guess the real question is, so what do we do now? And that's the question. How could this happen? That's the question I've gotten. How could this happen? And I tell them, you have a lot of unhappy people. They don't know what to do about their unhappiness. They listen to the hate talk, and they that makes sense to them. Yeah. And now, not everybody who feels this way acts on it. The people who do act on it, earlier, about a half hour ago, you said, well, this is a crazy person. Mm-hmm. I don't know that he's necessarily crazy. That gives him too easy a path out of this. Yeah. But there are some people who act out on it. There are a lot of people who feel this way but don't act out on it.
And you also do not know what kind of impression they have on friends, family members, children. That's one of the scariest things. And in a lot of these groups, you see children being ordained into this mentality. That's just extremely scary.
I'd just like to add, I would dare say a lot of the people who feel this way have never had contact with anybody who's Jewish, or the people who hate the blacks don't have any contact with them. It's easy to hate something you know nothing about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, look, I think it's also, as we said, there are people who hate, and they're going to hate. Yeah. In some ways, we have to make sure our law enforcement efforts are aimed at in the right places. Are we putting our resources into really finding these people and rooting them out, or are we placing it on other areas where maybe it's not so necessary? But the other thing is, again, it's not. I'm more concerned about the other people, the people who stand by and watch TV and listen to the radio and say, oh, but don't realize that they're part of the problem too. We're all part of the problem. And to the degree that we tolerate this hatred, to the degree that we tolerate this or excuse it, we are facilitating it. We may not pull the trigger, but if we don't condemn it loudly, we're just asking for someone else to do it.
That means in simple conversation. You're having a conversation and to stand up and say, you know what? That's just not cool.
And to not say, oh, those guys in Charlottesville, don't worry about that. Those aren't real. Don't worry about that.
I have 2 minutes. I want to ask you, Rabbi, as I was brought up Christian, the majority of us in this area were brought up Christian. There's a way that Christians handle something like this. The Jewish faith is different. Can you explain how Jews handle tragedy like this? There's a hell. I'm a Methodist, so it's that person's going to hell, and God will handle this. How do you look at this?
The Jewish tradition is very powerful on this point, and also very challenging. We believe that everyone is created in the image of God, and that somehow, even in this shooter, this horrible person who did this horrible deed, still is somehow a version of God's creation. It's a flawed version, perhaps, or a problem version, but still a child of God. So we focus less on his punishment than on the grief that we feel for the people who died. It's and who, in a certain sense, in this case, we have a concept in Judaism of someone dying for the sake of the divine name, and I sometimes we use that too loosely, but this is not a case. These were people who were in synagogue. They would not have been killed had they not been in synagogue that morning. They really are what we say al kadush Hashem. They were really died to sanctify God's name.
Okay, Rabbi Peter Schachman, thank you so much. And Cantor Kel Sokoloff, I really appreciate it. It's good seeing you. Let's vow to, moving forward, educate even more. And this is a place we can do that. So I hope you come back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Got a break, WIBX. Dennis Bova has a press conference today. Are we following that at all?
Yes. 10:30 at the county courthouse.
He's going to, based on the press release, he's going to basically make a charge that we need to stop having tax dollars funnel into the pockets of our corrupt officials.
And their cronies.
So do we have any evidence of this happening? Do we have any...
He's got a plan. So Bova's plan is
But where has this happened? Which... local politicians, clearly they must think it's Griffo lining his pockets and Brindisi lining his pockets, because on their election sheet they put out this week, they're both listed as hospital scandal label. They're labeled as a hospital scandal. So how are they taking the money? Can somebody explain how they're putting the money in their pockets?
Well, we'll probably learn that at 10:30.
Are they going to present evidence to such a thing?
Possibly, but he's planning to demonstrate. Well, he's going to introduce his plan to prevent corruption through term limits and hiring restrictions at the state level, and he details the plans he will work to set in place when he is elected to the state assembly. So,
and on this election guide that was sent out in the OD and the Rome Sentinel this weekend, one of the scandalous candidates is Marianne Buttonshaw, the Democratic candidate. And it says here, Democratic candidate Marianne Buttonshaw had to agree to toe the line on Brindisi's downtown hospital to get the blessings of party leaders. Exactly the kind of backroom deal-making local voters must reject outright. I wonder if they know that for a fact, if that actually happened. And by the way, normally when a candidate is endorsed, usually what happens is they look at their views. I don't think that's anything, are you aligned with our views?
Yeah.
Our values, our views, our issues, are we aligned?
Our missions.
And then usually so I don't think that, but I'm not sure she was told, you better toe the line. And if she was, please present the evidence to all this stuff.
I think actually she was told that, and then she also said, chin up, stretch your arm out, put your finger on your nose.
Yeah.
And then take it away. You had to do it with balance, otherwise she was going to get a ticket.
Simon says support the downtown hospital.
Okay. Anyway, that Boba press conference is later on today.
And speaking of endorsements, can I just throw one more in there that have been made aware of because I read an invite? The head of the NRA is coming today to the 22nd for Claudia Tenney.
I'd cancel that.
Yeah.
That is
maybe
not the optics of that. I'm not sure I'd even want to get down that road today.
A lot of endorsements going on, too. In fairness, just to be fair, also state and local firefighters associations will endorse Brindisi today as well.
Again, I wouldn't cancel that. And I'm an NRA person, but I'm not sure today's the day you want to have the NRA come and endorse you, but that's just me. Kevin Markin is with On Point for College. I'll not drag you into this conversation.
Well,
did you want to be dragged?
No. Okay. I will pass. Thank you very much.
Kevin's got more important
stuff to talk about.
Anyway, I love your show, but I'll pass on that comment on that area.
On Point for College. Explain what this program does.
On Point for College helps lower-income, first-generation students be able to go to college, be able to succeed there, help overcome all the hurdles along the way, and then get linked up to good local jobs in the area.
Which is big for a community like ours.
That's right.
Such an impoverished population.
Yes.
The number's up nearing 25%. And also a very diverse population. So
extremely. We help everyone, whether they're American-born, refugees, inner-city, foster care youth that's have aged out, single moms, ones that have been homeless, whatever the situation, we help them and or have our doors open to try to make sure they can succeed. Not a lot of red tape. And with our help, we have an 81.3% persistence rate of about 1,600 in the greater Utica area that we're helping either getting into college, getting ready now, or ones that have already graduated in the 5-6 years we've been here.
So your event on Thursday is going to be at the Delta Hotels by Marriott, and it begins at 6 o'clock. This is a celebration dinner. You're going to be focusing on some people that really help you along the way.
Yes, we have some wonderful community support, and this year we're running Rob Esch and the Save the Day Foundation for their wonderful support with our Dreammaker Award, Make a Difference Award, to Rick Short, who does tremendous work, help, mentoring, and it's just a spectacular for On Point in the community. Campus Angel Tia Locke, who is a teacher at MVCC, does a spectacular job going above and beyond helping our students. And the Foundation of Hope Award going to Amanda Larson, and the Gorman Foundation have helped us reach out into Madison County.
Cool. This is what community colleges are supposed to be about.
Yes.
And
they're a wonderful partner, MVC, Herkimer, and the others around the area with us. In fact, 3 of our graduates last year got the Chancellor's Award. They're only 1 out of 2,400 students get.
Wow.
And we had 3 of them from 3 of the area colleges all get the award, plus the top award recipient at Hamilton College and the commencement speaker at Herkimer. So when they have the chance, our lower-income, first-generation students work very, very hard and do extremely well, but if it's just helping level that playing field for them.
Well, you talk about that, too, because leveling the playing field. Oftentimes, they become the first members of their families that go to college. And if you're not brought up on... You're not done in your 12th year of high school. You're going to college. And there's a tradition. And oftentimes, you want to go to the same school that your parents went to or what have you. These kids don't have any of that background.
That's right.
So this is really, really important.
No, one other thing I wanted to say about the community colleges is it's great. I know, me personally, I was not the best student in high school. So when I went to my first 2 years at Lemoyne, I started to study the things that interest me. It helped my grades advance. So almost that by these students going to community college first, getting an idea what they want, they perform better, their odds of getting transferred into a school of their choice or a better school goes up because they work so hard and get good grades in that community college level. So it's an important, I think, to piggyback on the partnerships and the purposes of community colleges.
That's a great, excellent point. And one thing we're doing is we had a model federal grant program to create a model for transfer that we did with MVCC and some of the other colleges around the area that we did a model. And now we're working on expanding that out with a major national foundation to make a model for New York to help improve that transfer. Just as you said, not everybody comes out of high school, or sometimes people are a little older before they even decide they want to go to college. And they start out in a certificate program, and the next thing you know, they're becoming doctors. We had one of our Chancellor Award winners started out with a 9-week CNA class. It never got a chance to go to school in the country she came from as a refugee, and now she's a family nurse practitioner just a few years after arriving because she worked full-time while she went to school, but kept getting and was a super, and now giving back to the community here, helping with the health care of others.
That's awesome.
All right, so the event on Thursday is also a fundraiser, right?
Yes, it helps empower all of that.
Yeah, $50 a ticket. How do people get tickets?
People can call me at 315-454-7293, 315-454-7293, or On Point for College, all one word, onpointforcollege.org/celebration. Right. So on the website, those are the two best places to make sure to get in on a wonderful, very powerful, inspiring evening.
Pretty cool. Kevin Markin, thank you. On Point for College not only is great for the students, but it's great for the community. This is big for any community like ours.
Yes, thank you so much. And we're up as one of the 3 finalists for the Chamber for Nonprofit of the Year for ones with 50 other employees. So well said, and thank you for having me on your wonderful show.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much. People will disagree with that last statement, but I appreciate it anyway. Thank you. 8:23, hold tight. We're coming back. Ron Mosier, Utica OD sports editor, and high school football. We have 2 that have survived the weekend and are headed to the Dome. It's next on WIBX. First time I've heard that commercial.
Yeah.
If you're watching on TV, you didn't hear it, but it's the Sandy DiPerno commercial that I'm in, and it's a question I had for Dave Gordon about if he felt that the what was it? It
was the issue over refugees clogging up the line.
Immigration are causing a problem at the DMV. For the record, I was paid $10,000 for my appearance in that commercial.
Don't say that.
Oh, no, I wasn't. I wasn't paid at all. Didn't have any knowledge of it. I believe it's a fair use issue because it's up on YouTube. I'm not sure what the rules are with that, but I've never been never been in a political commercial before.
I'll tell you this, too. As far as the 3 of us know, and I think we can throw Smitty and the 4 of us, they didn't call and request that.
No, and I want to make it very clear.
Ripped right off YouTube.
I am not, despite what you hear me being in that commercial, I'm not endorsing Sandy DiPerno. I did say I was gonna vote for her, but I'm not endorsing her. We don't do endorsements here. But I am going to vote for her.
In defense, our logo was in another commercial at one point.
Oh, Manassas is looking like, why are you causing me trouble?
It's Monday, Bill. It's Monday.
Ron Mosier is the sports editor at the Utica OD. And, Ron, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bill.
You ever end up in a political commercial? You never knew it was coming. I didn't even know it was coming.
No, you can use whatever I say because nothing will beat it. very earth-shattering, probably.
Okay.
So go ahead.
And nothing political. How about,
no.
do you want a little
No.
something earth-shattering? Anything you have to say about the Giants?
Yeah, here's how bad it's gotten, Bill. I didn't watch one play yesterday. My wife and I were on the road, so I put myself out of the misery.
Good for you. Well,
yeah.
Listen, as a Bills fan, tonight's the night for me.
Yeah, but see, I'll say this. You have a rookie quarterback, and I know he's not playing tonight. You're in rebuilding mode. You're
right.
looking for the future.
Every win is a big deal, and every loss is, well, we're moving forward.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we are.
Yeah, and where Eli, it's like we're counting down the days. Are we going to continue to play him or not? This whole rebuild of the offensive line has been terrible. The only bright spot is Saquon Barkley, who, if you noticed yesterday, the old 33-year-old, apparently ageless Adrian Peterson ran for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, while our rookie back of the future got 38 yards. So it's really a sour time to be a Giants fan. I feel for you, Ron, and I'm in the same boat.
A lot of that is offensive line, but we've got a nephew who's getting his master's at UAlbany, who he can blame me for raising him as a diehard Giants fan, but he was texting me back and forth while we were on the road, and he goes, the definition of insanity, I just keep watching it over and over again, hoping for a different outcome, and it never happens. So,
boy.
So I guess I didn't miss anything.
Let's go to high school football. And by the way, I still am feeling that this is a very difficult game for the Patriots tonight. They're playing in Buffalo. It's a team that's not expected to perform all that well. Defense, when it's on, is on. I believe there's going to be an upset tonight. I'm going to be up really late watching this game.
Wow. Bill, you're really going out on a limb there.
Well, it's because we'll just forget I said it tomorrow. If we get
I'd
killed,
love to see it. I'd love to see it because I'm not exactly a Patriot fan.
In the last,
shot,
I think in the last, how many games the Bills have beaten the Patriots? It's like 25 games. They've beaten the Patriots 3 times. I mean, it's
right.
dismal when you look at the.
Hey, I'm just glad that no more Manny Machado acts and no more Yasiel Puig hot dogging it. I'm not that I'm a diehard Red Sox fan, and I grew up being a diehard Giants fan. One of the few who was a Yankee hater because I thought they bought their team. Well, the 2 teams with the highest payroll just played for the World Series, and I'm actually glad the Red Sox won because I'm not a big Machado or Puig fan. It's just their actions. They turns me off.
They didn't just win; they dominated.
Oh yeah,
really, probably. Well, it's being called the greatest Red Sox team of all time.
Well, their outfield can do it all: run, defense, hitting.
Just quickly, Ron.
And then they get a guy like Steve Pearce, who's a journeyman who comes up big in the World Series. I think hits 3 home runs. He had 2 last night. So I mean, that's a great story in itself. So,
Ron, just quickly, I'll mention this because I don't think I'll get another chance. Obviously, because the World Series is over.
Right.
Yasiel Puig it's gotten so bad. He literally is celebrating still in the batter's box. He runs around the bases when he gets a hit like this, like Hulk Hogan used to flex when he was in the ring. Right. Like this I've never seen anything like it. I remember a couple of years ago there was this big riot over Jose Bautista threw his bat in the air, which a bat flip, you're going to run to first. You got to throw your bat somewhere. The fact that he is like Hulk Hogan flexing in the batter's box. Mm-hmm. How is somebody not throwing at this guy?
No, I think I wrote it in a column last week when it really turned me off that, I like teams with character, not with characters.
Yeah.
And that's why, and to be honest, that was one of the reasons why I was rooting for the Brewers. They were basically a bunch of no-name, a very low-budget team, I think the smallest market in the country, and they almost made it to the World Series. Yeah. So I thought, I guess it's the journalist in me. I'm looking for the better story. And
I certainly understand that. All right, let's talk some high school football. Wow, I watched that game from Camden on Friday night.
Speaking of earth-shattering, right?
Oh, Carthage just dominated Whitesboro.
Well, that's unfortunately the way scheduling came up this past week. That's how I watched it too, Bill, because I was at the office while we were covering. Marquel Slaughter did a great job in Cortland because we had 2 championship girls soccer games Friday night in Cortland, 2 more on Saturday night. Each night, one of the games went to double overtime, sudden death overtime, penalty kick shootouts, and I felt for him because I've been there and done that in the rain and slop, and he did a great job. Well, we're back here with high school football semifinals, but the big shocker really was Whitesboro. I mean, that Carthage team, they shut out 13-0 a couple weeks ago in the regular season finale. Granted, that was at home in Whitesboro. I think it was homecoming weekend and all that, but still with a chance to go back to the Dome and a chance. I believe, Bill, I didn't really do in-depth research, but I'm pretty sure if Whitesboro had won a fourth straight title, I think the only other school to do that is New Hartford with Don Edick way back when.
Wow.
So, but now that's a big if now because they're gone. But
so
another great season for Tom Shane. But I think every year I sort of approach him. Well, is this it? Or, 45, 46 years, and we'll see.
Whitesboro, VVS, Oneida, Notre Dame, all going down this weekend.
Yeah, for the 6th. Left standing, Holland Patton undefeated. Rolled over Lowville 49-28. I think Nick Heronshaw, the quarterback, had 4 touchdown runs. Jason Haas, again, a great game at running back, over 90 yards and a couple touchdown runs. And Holland Patton's basically done it with defense. Those 28 points they gave up to Lowville are the most they've given up all year. But other than that, they've shut teams down. And now they face a General Brown team that I think in 7 of their 8 games have scored at least 7 of their 8 wins. General Brown scored at least 42, 43 points. I know they've got like 3 in the 60s. They beat Thousand Island 76-12 once this year, and Holland Patton just beat Thousand Islands 42-6. So there are a lot of common opponents. I'm sure the coaches are doing their homework this week. That should be a great matchup on Saturday afternoon at the Dome.
Herkimer, they won. They beat Beaver River, and they're going to be facing Onondaga now in Class D.
Yeah, Onondaga, traditional Class D power, of course. Remember back when Mike Hart went on to play, set records at Michigan, and then played for the Colts for a while before he got hurt. And, hey, last night you were watching Latavius Murray. He was a former Onondaga running back, a great running back who plays for the Vikings now. He sort of got shut down by the Saints last night, but Onondaga's been there before. Obviously, they've lost. They won the Class D title a couple years ago against Dowsville. Last year, they lost in the semifinals to Dowsville, and now they're back. But they're going to face a Herkimer team who might have, Bill, the best 1-2 running back punch in the section, any class, with Adam Green and Wyatt Renshaw. They both ran wild the other night against Beaver River, and they got a big 6'2", 6'3", 195-pound quarterback, James Ayala, who's running the show, has been around for 2 or 3 years. So, and I mean, this is a chance for Herkimer to get back on top. Remember, with Alan Steele, who was there for many, many years, they won Class C and Class D titles under him. So now they're back in the Dome on Friday night at 5 o'clock, and the opener should be a good one.
All right, so we have 2 teams to look at, Holland Patton and Herkimer at the Dome. Both games on Friday?
No.
Okay, Friday, Saturday.
Herkimer's at 5 o'clock Friday night. The Class A final, which would have been Whitesboro, is after that at 8.
Got it.
And then you have all the other games on Saturday. I believe Holland Patton's at noon.
Okay, all right.
In the Class C final. And like I said, they got 19, 20 seniors, and they're on a mission. Now they got to play a General Brown team who's traditionally strong, North Country power. So we'll see how it turns out. They've got they've got a lot of common opponents. So I think there's a lot of videotape being reviewed this week.
I was just going to say, Ron got stuck in the office last weekend, and now he's going to have to make 2 trips to Syracuse.
How about how long before the high school basketball preview comes out?
Oh, Bill, do you have to bring that up?
I'm sorry, but you're on deadline.
I don't. I want to say mid-November because they start playing around Thanksgiving time. There's Thanksgiving weekend tournaments around then. Actually, Thanksgiving I think is earlier than usual, so it might be just after that. But before December, they start playing. And, hey, I've been sitting on our Syracuse men's basketball preview. They're number 16, I think, in the preseason poll. They've got a couple of exhibition games coming up this week. I think they play Lemoyne Wednesday or Thursday night. But SU opens November 16th, I believe. So
it's just around the corner.
It's coming on us in a hurry.
All right. Well, listen, thank God for Syracuse this year. I wouldn't have anybody to root for.
Yeah, that's another one, though. Again, this is being selfish.
Yeah.
But 7 o'clock TV games on a Saturday night, our deadline's way too early for that.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but it's just the way of the newspaper world right now, and I pull my hair out because we can't. Well, what I have left, I can't get it in the paper.
Well, I got to tell you, it's been a long time since you've had to leave Syracuse out of a paper because they were playing in prime time. So,
yeah, I guess that's a good sign.
Football. Think about that. All right, good stuff, Ron Mosier. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. We'll do it again next week. Thank you.
All right. Have a good week, guys.
All right, you too. Ron Mosier from the Utica OD. You can read about it in the Observer Dispatch, uticaod.com. 8:37 coming up. I want to get into some of this. There are a couple press conferences. There's some mailers that went out. There's a brand new MTV Music Video Pro Claudia Tenney channel out there. We'll talk about that and play you some of the audio. And wait till you see some of the video. It'll knock your socks off. It's coming up along with Gary Heenan from the Shame I have to go from that to this. But here's one they just did. It's called their Native American Tribute to Tenney. It's done in their backyard, in a backyard. It looks like there's a little electric fireplace there showing a flame as if they're around a campfire. They're in complete headdress, Native American headdress, and they're all lip-syncing to the song that they do to pay tribute to Claudia Tenney.
Good harmony.
I'm assuming that these people all have kids that are like, Mom, what are you doing? You didn't put that up on YouTube, did you? Oh, yeah, I did.
Just on Facebook.
Oh, no, it's on YouTube. I can't listen anymore. There's like 6 or 7 songs they have done. It's really quite exciting. And here's one of theirs called Walk Away, Democrats, Walk Away. You know, I got to tell you, I'd say, how in the world could anybody be convinced to do this? But Charlie Seeley has a TV show. People do that, right?
Yeah.
I will say this, maybe this is a better...
I think his show's more entertaining than this.
This could be argued a better use of their time than walking the neighborhood to see who's moved in. So
that is, you may be right. Here they are explaining this. Apparently, it's a sister team. Peg Roberts and her sister. Their group is called Ruby and Lace, and they get into a little bit explaining about why they're actually doing this YouTube MTV type.
I didn't know these two were sisters.
Yeah,
the Democrats.
Wow. You bet they did.
Okay, get back to this part right here. Here we go.
Can you see right over there where it says Brandon Straka? And his devotion is to what? His country or party? Brandon Straka.
His country.
And where should your devotion be?
To his country.
To country, right. Not over party.
Right.
Who ever heard of putting your party over your country?
The Democrats.
You bet they did. Okay, well, we're going to thank him and thank him so much for that. And we hope to see him someday, or at least hear from him, and we'll walk away with him. And I wanted to say that in addition to Walk Away, Democrats Walk Away, which is one of our songs, we have at least 4 other songs and videos we'd like to share, and hope that you enjoy them and to think about all that's at stake here, because it is serious, isn't it?
It's absolutely.
It's a very serious time. You bet it is. And they said to remember the Alamo, and for some reason we didn't. And then they said to remember 9/11, and we kind of do on the anniversary, but there's so many people that say, what was that? And we forgot. And we certainly don't live.
I'd like to know who says, what was 9/11? Who says, what was that? What was 9/11? Oh, maybe a 2-year-old. I think we all kind of remember what 9/11 was.
Yes.
Do you think? I mean,
life as if we have to worry about anything. Like
not that we shouldn't. Not that we
do.
During that time, Democrats and Republicans were together. It was one of the few times in our history where people were working together, no matter their party. Well, we're not there, so we could do more of that. But I do pretty much think people know what 9/11 was, for the most part.
And sometimes even worse. We say, remember Judge Kavanaugh. That's what's got us really upset.
Because what happened to him was a national disgrace.
And it was.
To him and his family, and to the true citizens in the United States.
Yes, she's trying hard, but that's okay. That's my Ruby. So here we go.
Anyway, if you want to see any of this, it's Peg Roberts. Search Peg. You don't want to see it? No, you do. You have to at least see the Native American tribute to Claudia Tenney. Search Peg Roberts, Ruby and Lace. It's on YouTube. Peg Roberts, Ruby and Lace. It'll pop right up. And if you throw a Native American, you'll see them all dressed in their headdress and their Native American garb, if you will.
I don't know. Meanwhile, the Hindu church is going, we had nice neighbors, and then these people moved in. Do you see the stuff they're wearing?
Oh, Lordy. We'll talk to Gary Heenan, head coach, UC Pioneers. Tough weekend. Adrian is always a thorn in their side, and it was this weekend. 2 games with Adrian. Both close games, but the Pioneers up on the short end of the stick. We'll get to Gary coming up next on WIBX. And we're counting them down.
So
all the way to Election Day.
All the way to 119.
Going all the way down till we get to number 1.
That's really good, Bill. Do you do a good Shaggy? My son would have
I'll work on that, yeah.
Andrew can attest to this because I think he's seen me. I think I put in about 13 or 14 hours of Scooby-Doo this weekend.
That theme song is ingrained. I will forget everything else in life except for that theme song.
A listener in Utica, New York said, is it okay to dress up in Indian headdress? Or is that not politically correct? Well, it's not politically correct.
Yeah.
I thought so.
And it's not Halloween.
Now,
Bill,
we know it's Halloween.
The answer was I didn't think so.
We're talking to Casey from the grave.
Now, on with the countdown. Actually, on with Coach Gary Heenan, who's standing by. Head coach of the Utica Pioneers. Good morning, Gary. Good morning.
Good morning. You guys have me smiling. I'm liking it.
I believe we just completely jinxed you because we were supposed to have you on Friday morning, and a hiccup occurred. And had we had you on, I mean, these are 2 close games over the weekend, but Adrian is always tough. Also one of the ones in preseason that was expected to really compete with you this year, right?
Yeah. Hey, that's great. You're giving me an out here, but no, it was Adrian's a fixture in the Frozen Four every year. They've been there the last 6 years in a row. Very good hockey team. It was a great measuring stick for us. I thought Friday night our goaltender kept innocent in game. We could have stole the game, winning 1-0 going to the third. Gave up a real fluky goal and then made a big mistake to lose that. It was 3-1 with an empty netter. And then the next night, I thought we outplayed them in the second and third pretty handily and deserved to win that game. So, unfortunate. Never want to open 0-2. I don't know if we've ever done that, but we know who we are, we know where we're at, and you got to turn the page and focus on your league play now.
What was it like in the locker room on Saturday?
Well, those days are gone, Bill.
Okay.
So,
no laptops being thrown across the locker room or anything like that.
No. I've fully I've matured, and now it's rubbing backs and making sure that everybody feels good about themselves.
What he's saying is there's nothing expensive that gets broken anymore.
It's a different world today.
But, yeah. No, we actually, the match, honestly, was, joking aside, was, we proved we could play with one of the top dogs every single year. And we're very young. We got 10 freshmen playing, and we played our third goalie on Saturday night because our number 1 and number 2 are hurt. So we're reaching down deep already, and so there were a lot of positives. There really was.
Yeah, Coach. If that's the circumstance, you got to walk away from this knowing you can play with these guys even when you have top guys hurt.
Yeah, guys. The fans knew it Saturday night. I mean, they were awesome. They were on the edge of their seats the entire third period as we were all over this team playing really, really hard. And our third goalie was standing up, a freshman from Tier 3 hockey out of California. So there is a lot there, no question about it. And we have no time to rest. We've got Manhattanville. We've got 13 seniors, big, strong. As you guys know, big rivalry of ours coming in here Tuesday night for Military Appreciation Night. So that's a big one for us. They're one of the top teams in our league every year, so we got to prepare. And we'll do a light skate today. It's more about rest and mental focus, and jump back out there Tuesday night.
And then then it's Newman on Saturday night at home, right?
Yeah, Newman, and I think they've taken a little step back with a coaching change there. League plays league play, and we played a lot of hockey already. So, it's more about rest, getting some guys healed up that are already hurt.
So
make sure we're best Tuesday.
And for those people that you should keep in mind, it's just easy to look at the schedule, but it's Tuesday night, Saturday night, and then you guys are on the road for quite a while.
Yeah, it's a bad November for us. The league kind of put us on the road the entire month of November for the most part. So, heavy home games early, 6 in a row home, and then pretty much 6 on the road. So get your fill of UC hockey right now.
All right, listen, it's a great way to. It's not a great way to start, but it's a great indicator to say, okay, let's some great preseason rankings for this team, and it's a great way to kind of do a little bit of a reality check and come out strong for Tuesday and Saturday night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, Coach.
Head coach Gary Heenan. Joe Lode. Oops. Stand by, Joe. Stand by. Good morning, Joe.
Hey, good morning, Bill. I just hoping that you could do one more little recap before you get off the air today about the mailer and who I need to vote for if I want progress in a hospital downtown.
If you want progress and a hospital
no,
downtown.
That's no fun, Joe. If you don't want the hospital and you don't want progress.
This would be, you'd be voting for Anthony Brindisi and Joe Griffo and Marianne Button, Sean. So, according to their flyer.
Those are the ones for progress, for a future in Utica, for a hospital, correct?
That is correct, Joe. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you very much, Bill. I just wanted to make sure.
All right, thanks, Joe. You enjoy your day. Joe reacting to the election flyer that you probably got in your OD or your Rome Sentinel over the weekend. By the way, Griffo is running unopposed in his district. They want you to not vote for him because they say he's corrupt and is part of the hospital scandal. And they want you to write in Daffy Duck instead of voting for Joe.
Which would that help the hospital not go downtown to vote a cartoon character? Like, does Daffy Duck, will he somehow derail the hospital project?
I wonder if there's a time where Jim Brock kind of looks at this and is like, or even Brett Truitt is like, this is the money, this is the $100,000 that I'm spending. I'm not sure I'm overly proud of where it's going. Who's running this? Well, hey, a week to go, folks, and all this election stuff will be over. Got to go. Back here tomorrow. Enjoy your day. Tomorrow, by the way, comedian Dennis Miller's on the radio. Pretty cool.